Hello and welcome to my video. This is going to be a guide on a guaranteed way to get hybrid reds that produce blue roses at a 25% rate. Alright, and this method was written out by Paleh, and this was based on some new genetic information that they have put together based on data mining, and I'll have a link to a document that has information on that as well, as long as also a link to a flower setup simulator that is very helpful, especially for explaining this. So I'll get right into it. So the guide is right here, and at the top you can see who it was written by, and it was data mining information from Aider. And there is a ton of different information in here. There's a ton of people that help go through the data to figure out all this stuff about flowers, which is really great. And for this video, our sole focus will be on the guaranteed blue rose path. So I'm going to show you how to do it and why it makes sense. Alright, so in my field, you can see in the first field, it is all seed whites that are planted, okay? On the very first day, you can plant all of your seed whites. You can plant your yellows for this test case that I'm going to be talking about in a little bit. And you can plant all of your seed reds for another test that we're going to be doing over here once we're further along. Okay? So, some important things. You can see my areas are pretty boxed in. Size matters. If you are trying to ramp up production and do it quicker, obviously the more you start with, the more, you'll have to keep track of. I mean, you really could do just fine. Like, I had massive fields for this. I was just trying to get it done. It took me about 55 total hours in real life to get through it, and I'll explain more on that later. So on the very first day, I would plant these seed whites, okay? Now, seed whites all have the same genes, okay? And the same with any seed flower. There's the only one that you're guaranteed to know the genes for starting off are the ones straight from the bag. So I'll show you, I believe it is this combination here. So look, these are two seed whites. As you can see, this app will tell you that's what configuration they have. If you don't know it like I do by heart, the information is down here. You can certainly grab it here. They also have the rare island flowers, just if you're trying to make combinations or whatever. This is an absolutely excellent site. So anyways, I have a combination like this. And as you can see, it can produce either purples or whites. 75% chance at whites, 25% chance at purple. So I would plant my field with the whites, like I did here. Don't mind that blue rose up on top. We'll get to that. And I would come back and, keep watering it and checking the results. Eventually, it should give birth to a purple. So, you'll come in and, you'll come up to your field and you'll see this, okay? You'll say, oh, good, it produced a purple. If it's a white bud, just get rid of it. You don't want it. It could potentially have different genes than a seed white, so you just want to get rid of that flower. Throw it out. Alright, but if you see that purple, you'll pick that purple up, you'll come over to where you have your seed yellows planted, and you'll start putting them in. Alright? So obviously this one wouldn't have been here. This field should only contain seed yellows. And you could block them off from breeding just to keep them from cloning. And you could do this with either custom designs if you don't have terraforming, or you could put stone down, stone path, anything that isn't dirt or grass will keep these flowers from breeding and cloning themselves, which you really want to avoid. So you put these together, alright, so you have your purples that you're getting out of field 1, and you're running this combination here against the seed yellows, and I'm just going to show you that on the simulator, and I'll show you what step we're on. So you can see right here, this is step 2, and these will always produce white flowers no matter what. Okay, so we would have this purple here, and as you can see, you could just drag it over from here, and you reset the field. So a seed yellow, I believe it's that. Yep. So you mix. This is your formation that I had on the screen, and you can see they could only produce this one type of white. That's good. We're trying to isolate stuff and control genes as much as possible. Okay, so as it produces these white flowers, we're going to be separating it and putting it into our third field. So I'm going to go back over here and on my switch and show you what I mean. So as the white flowers are produced, we will pick them up. So again, it would look something like this when you come to see your results in the morning. You'd be like, oh good, a white, I need that. If you get anything out of this field other than a white, you did something wrong, and you will have to reevaluate your setup, maybe do a little bit more studying on how the genes work. That should help out. So I'm going to get rid of those purples in the back because I don't want to misrepresent anything. Okay, so then you come the next day to look at your results from your field, from your fully bloomed flowers, and you might see something like this. That would be good. If you see yellow or white, you're going to want to dispose of that flower. And I have some charts up top that I could show you. I'll show you those in a second. So if your third field produces a purple flower, it could be one of two different setups for its genes. And we're going to want to verify that before we move to the next step. And it'll walk you through in the guide the importance of it. As you can see, we are here, and it talks about how this gets tricky here. You really have two options. Basically, you're going to test this purple that was produced in this field right here up against a seed yellow, and see if it can produce a yellow offspring. And I'll show you why that's important. Okay, so back to here. These are the whites that we were trying to produce with the seed yellow and the purple from the first field. And this will show you that whenever these combine, they can make a ton of different flowers. So we're solely focused on the purple flowers they can make. So it can make one of two kinds right here. Okay. And rather than just throwing these all in a field and hoping for the best, we are going to test these up against seed yellows. So let me get rid of these. Alright. So we have it lined up, and you can see it in the back, how I have them in a row like this. It's basically a pair. So to make it match this setup here, maybe to make it a little bit easier to understand. And our white field was down here that was producing these purple flowers. And these are both of the different gene types. So I would pick up this flower from that field of the whites, and I would set it up against this yellow flower. And I'm going to watch to see what kinds of offsprings it can produce. And if it's only producing white offspring, I know that this one right here is the wrong type of purple. Okay? Basically, you could run the test 3 times. Look at 3 offspring. If all 3 of them are white, there's a pretty good chance that this is a bad flower. I would just get rid of it in hopes that you'll have enough production behind it to keep testing other flowers instead of hoping for that yellow one on the 4th breeding. Now, this is the other type of purple that could be produced. Okay, so if I run this up against my seed yellow, you see that it can give birth to a purple offspring. And that will distinguish it from the other purple, the bad purple that we were talking about. That's the flower we want, okay? And I'll just show you real quickly how I did that on my on my setup. Okay. Let me just get that off the screen. It's taking a sec. Okay, so I pick up the flower and I come and I set it over here. Alright? And I plant it next to my yellow. I basically want to keep these closed in. Basically what I would do is you could put down a custom design or anything that's not dirt or grass in front of it. So you could just put down any custom design in front of it and nothing's going to breed there. And that flower is just going to sit there. And that has to do with the counter, a water day counter that they're doing tests on. It's pretty interesting stuff. So anyways, I put that there for now, and I keep running through the days until I get a result from this. If it produces a white flower, what I did was this. I would take out a marker next to it, and I would just mark out strikes, okay? If I would get to a third strike, because I had about like 20 of these running at once, you know, I had to keep track of it somehow. And then if I came in and it produced a yellow flower, I would just come over and carefully erase these so I don't pick my flower. And then I would pick this one up and I would move it to the step 4 field, okay? Now, back to this example here. So, just like I showed you there, this is that good purple. So, I'm just going to make some copies of it. And I'll show you the significance of why we are doing this. And just let me clear out these ones. Alright, so these are all in a field together, and you see that they can produce either 2 different types of purples, which are the same as the last step, or this white. Now this white is a very significant flower because this is what we're using to basically refine our hybrid reds. So more on that in a little bit. But that's what we want this field to produce. And it says that in the steps, this talks about you're breeding these 2 purples to get this white with an asterisk. Does it at a 25% rate. If you're having issues like with your configuration, I would just make sure that you avoid putting a flower that hasn't been tested here. It could really slow stuff down for you because that combination of purples from before that I showed you, when they breed together, they can only produce purple offspring, and you just have a really low chance at getting that white flower. Okay, so we want this white flower. We put it off to the side for now, and once we have our field here producing those good white flowers, and I'll give you an example. So, so I come in, check out my field, and I see that I have this as my result. Okay, that's great. That's what we want, okay? I could pick this up and I take it to my next field, all right? Now, as soon as I get to the point where I'm combining these purples, I'm going to want to come over to my field of seed reds, okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to free up some space in between them, you know? And I'm going to let them breed together so they can produce a black offspring, and I'll show you that real quick, okay? So here was that good white I had over here. Let me get rid of these purples for now. Seed red, I believe, is that, yep. Okay, so these seed reds are combining. This is the potential offspring they could have, okay? We only want the black, alright? So we take that black out of the field, and we're going to be combining it with these whites. And I'm going to show you some charts I put together to show you what can come from this field right here. Now, so this field would basically, you would come in and you'd see, oh good, a black flower here. I know I could come and combine this with the whites that I'm setting from this field into this field, okay? You can do individual pairs. You can do it however you want. The main thing is, as you're pulling blacks from this field, make sure that you're not leaving any pinks or reds that are birthed by this field in this field, because it will contaminate your field and you'll have to start it over, or you won't be able to accurately verify your results from that field and control the genes. So over here, you know, you would have your good whites, and oops, wrong one. And you're combining them with the blacks from that field that has the 5 in front of it. And I almost put the same one back. Alright. And from this field, I'm going to go show you your potential results. Remember, that was field 6. So, just as an explanation, the top has the combinations of the flowers you're breeding, and down here are the potential offspring. Let me get rid of 2 that breeded since I started this. So, field 6, this is the white and the blacks that I was just showing you. If they produce a white offspring, that is good. That's what you want for the next step, okay? And they do that at, I believe, 100% rate. If you see a white or you see a black, you can keep those flowers because they are the exact, they would have to be a clone. The only way they could produce a white or a black from whatever your configuration is if somehow the flowers cloned themselves, okay? And if you get a white there, I mean, you need whites for the rest of this, so that's okay. Just either put it into the field with your reds that are being produced, or if you don't have any reds yet, you could just add it to your configuration that you have between the blacks and the whites, and ramp up your production and your chances a little bit, okay? So, these reds, they're going to come into field 7, which I'm going to run over to so I can show you. Now, so this field's going to be producing red flowers if it's set up correctly, okay? And when you see those, you're going to be taking them and setting them into this field. Now, these white flowers here are the same white flowers here. So, if this purple field is still producing white flowers, you could start setting them into this field to be combined with these reds that are being produced by this field. Okay? And you can get so many different results from this combination. The only thing is, if you see a pink from this field, you did something wrong. There's probably a seed red in there. You're going to have to check your setups and try to figure out what you did wrong. Anything else is possible from this combination, and I'm just going to go over those 2 gene combinations quickly before they start doing server maintenance. Or actually, it looks like they probably already did. Okay, so the white that we were trying to produce is this one right here. There's the black, okay? And it's going to combine to make this red, alright? So, I'm going to remove the seed red from this field. So, these 2 can mix, and you see that they can only have a red offspring 100% of the time, and it has the genes we want. We're going to be taking this red, which actually, at this point, if you mix 2 of them together, you can get basically every color but pink. If you get a pink, there's something really messed up with your flowers. You're going to have to look at it. But anyways, you're going to be taking this and combining it with that same combination of white, okay? At this point, this is a hybrid red, and if you ran it up against another hybrid red, you would have a 1.56% chance of producing a blue flower at this point. That's not good enough for us, and we're going to shoot for better odds than that, okay? So what we're going to do is, as those flowers come out, we're going to run these two together, okay? The only flowers you want to keep out of this field is the oranges, okay? So it's this one right here. If it produces a purple, you can add that to those step 4 purples that you had back here. It's the same, and it's a purple that can produce the white offspring that we wanted, those super whites. But outside of those purples, basically everything else is trash, because it could be one of 3 different types of reds, one of 2 different types of yellows. You just don't want to mess with that. And the yellow, like, there's no yellows are used for the rest of this unless you are testing a purple, which could happen. You could have a purple produced in the next step that you might want to test before you add it to your purple field. Feel free to do that. It just depends on how much production you want. So if this field produces an orange flower, you're going to go set it in this other field and combine it with those same whites that I was just showing you. So give me 1 second. I'm going to have to go check on my son. Alright, sorry about that. So, this orange flower that you're going to be setting in the field for step 8, which is down here, is going to be again crossed with those whites, and you're going to want to basically cross it back to a red, okay? Now, there are a ton of different results you can get from it, all in 25% increments, and I'm going to go over to my little field and show you what you could do with all the different things that come out of that field. Okay, so basically, if it produces a red, that's golden, that's what you want. That's the flower that can be combined with itself to make a blue rose with a 25% chance, okay? If it produces an orange or a white, just add it to your configuration that you have with your oranges and whites. So, you know, this is where I had mine. Only they weren't touching. They've just had flowers reproduce as I've been making these videos. But I just did a diamond configuration where it's white, white, orange, orange, white, white. Okay? And oranges or whites you could use. The yellows, throw them out. Okay? The reds, you're going to take and you're going to put in a final field with only its own type. Okay? So as your orange and white field produces more whites, you're going to set these together and just let the magic happen. Dispose of any other flower that comes out of that field. Because, I mean, so many... I believe you can get a couple different combinations of white. If I remember off the top of my head... Oh, you can only get one type of white. That type of white is one that you could add to... I'm sorry I said dispose of any kind. You could just keep adding them, okay? So, these are the actual examples that I have here. These were my actual flowers that were breeding whenever I was running the test. I just had them side by side. So, look. Oh, my pockets are full. Are you kidding me? Sorry about that. Let me just throw these in here. Alright, so these two reds breed together. If you get a blue, you could keep it. If you get a white, you could add it to your white and orange field or any other field that you want to ramp up production on. But like once you get to this is the end game. You're probably just going to want to put this white in your orange field. This red here, it would be the same as the reds that you get from your oranges and whites. And those are, so you could just add that to your configuration. So if this flower, say, cloned itself, I would just add it right next to it and let them breed. And hopefully you get this result, which I did, and it was on the first pool, and it was awesome. It took me about 55 hours of real time to get it. And let me just show you some more on the genetics of it and what's so great about it. So, you know, we run that white and the orange. We get this red. Okay. And we combine this red together, and it produces a blue at a 25% chance. And it's because, like, we've been controlling these dominant genes for the yellow, the whites, and the blue. And that's really the idea of how we're, like, isolating everything. And if you look at this white that was so pivotal in all of this, like, you see that it's on its recessive genes. I mean, on its red genes, it's 2 recessives. On its yellow genes, it's 2 dominants. On its whites, it's 2 dominant. On its brightness, it's 2 recessives. Like, it's a great flower to use for the rest of this because the blue is this, okay? That's the only combination of genes that'll give you a blue. All right, so, and we're basically just crossing it to get that, you know, that next step, then that next step to the blue, okay? If you want to produce more blues, if you look, for the time being, you could leave this right here with that red rose that you have at the end, and you will now have a 50% chance of it producing that blue offspring, okay? And then, obviously, if you run a blue against a blue, you get only blue, okay? I mean, that's the basic explanation, and I tried to do it as quickly as possible. I hope this video made sense, and I hope you end up with a field like this one sometime soon. The one last thing that I would say, and I saved this for the end, is the way I did this in 55 hours of real time was using an exploit with a day that was raining. So meteor showers and weather are all linked to specific dates and time. All I did was I found a day that it was raining, which was 4:20 for me. I would go in and start my day. All of my flowers would automatically be watered on my island, and I could just exit out and then jump to the next day. Do all my weeding, moving around everything, look at the results, make adjustments, just go through everything, okay? Then I would go back to 4:20, same time, and it would be raining then. That might be different for you, okay? But it would always be raining at that moment for me. I'd go in, all my flowers would get watered, I could just hop ahead to the next day. So it allowed me to go through days upon days as my island slowly got wrecked and covered in flowers. My main suggestion, and I'll show you why, make sure you box your flowers in, or else you get fields that overflow like this, which you don't really want, and I'm going to have a fun time cleaning up. Also, you're going to get some weeds that look like this. I'm going to have a lot of fun cleaning that up as well. It's a risky method. You could do it the long way, short way, it's up to you. But yeah, if you have anything that you want to see tested, if you want to see how to make green mums, purple, whatever, you name it, I can do a video on it, and I'll show you all the genetics and everything. Hope you enjoyed it. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know what you thought of the content. If there's nothing else, thank you for watching.